West Wednesday 656, Justice for Tyrone West, Justice for all victims of police brutality. Tawanda, it's all you.
Thank you, my queen. First of all, guys, I would like to apologize for going on a little later than what we normally start at 7. But nevertheless, we have a very special guest, Sister Moses, tonight. So we're going to play you guys the video, and then we're going to come right back and we'll have my sister, and I'll introduce and bring my sister on live to y'all. Mic check.
Mic check.
Won't stop till killer cops are in cell blocks. Can't stop.
The following video portrays an incident of assault and violence at the hands of police. Viewer discretion is advised.
I suggest you back the fuck up. No,
This is Baltimore City Police Officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz. In a video shot in 2016, Ruiz is seen with his knee on the back of an unknown man with a gun pointed at the man's head. His message was a clear one. Concerned onlookers, adhere to my dictates or else. Here, we can hear Ruiz saying to Baltimore residents,
I suggest you back the fuck up.
It is documented that Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender, even without access to all complaints against Ruiz, undisclosed by BPD Internal Affairs records. 6 cases involving Ruiz are known. This video will briefly highlight 6 total cases beginning in July of 2013. Case 1, Abdul Salam, July 1st, 2013. Here Salam is seen victoriously smiling in celebration after the jury found Ruiz and 2 other cops liable for brutality against him. However, because the trial was civil, not criminal, Ruiz was not fired and he did not go to jail.
Police profiled me. They followed me in the back of my house, harassing me. Police proceeded to violently and hostilely approach my van with me and my son in it. As I announced, this was my home, guns drawn. Once they reached my vehicle, they violently pulled me out, ramshacked my vehicle with my 3-year-old son strapped in his car seat, threw me against the gate, slammed me repeatedly. Picked me up by my feet, and while I'm upside down, they proceeded to drop me on my head, hog-tie me, and immediately when I fell on my head, Ruiz, in a wrestling type of action, and kind of hit his knee against my neck. I was arrested. I had no idea what I was being arrested for. My son is scarred to this day. He remembers the incident as it happened yesterday. When he talks about it, he always refers to Daddy being on the floor with police yesterday.
Case 2, Darrell Harris, profiled, as seen in this video, July 17th, 2013.
Yeah, I said, what's wrong with it? Improper way with it. There's no such thing as an improper way.
You gonna tell me my job, bro?
I know the law.
Are you gonna tell me the law?
I know the law.
You gonna tell me the job?
I know the law. What's the problem? You giving me a ticket? You need my license registration?
Yeah, let me get it.
The profile, y'all use the seatbelt as a reason. Profile.
Do me a favor, take out your keys.
Yeah, you can record me. For what? Nah. I don't feel safe right now. Do you want me to step out the car? Do you want me to step out the car? I'll step out the car. Call the police, man. What do you call a supervisor? I'm about to do shit. This is getting uploaded to the internet right now. Yeah?
And we are 2 law-abiding citizens that we are getting targeted, and I don't know why.
Just 24 hours later, Bernardez Ruiz played a leading role in the police killing of unarmed Tyrone West. Case number 3, the murder of Tyrone West, July 18th, 2013.
My brother Tyrone West was brutally murdered on July the 18th, 2013.
In both of these cases, when you look at the pleadings and the harsh language of these officers that have been quoted to me by reliable witnesses, the N-word.
And Killer Ruiz and Killer Chapman and the rest of those 11 to 15 killers, including David Lewis, took something from my family that they could never give us again. And that was my brother Tyrone West, one unarmed man who was brutally murdered, beat to death in broad daylight.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Awesome. So thank you guys for tuning in. And tonight, like I said, we have a very special guest. And this Sister Queen has been fighting, for accountability and just doing different things. And I'm going to let Sister Moses tell you all about her. We're here to support. And Sister Moses, I'm just going to turn it over to you. You can introduce yourself and we can take it from there. Mic check.
Thank you, Sister Jones, Sister Tawanda, and I just want to take out a moment of silence for your brother, Tyrone West, and we have to say that name every day. We cannot let the murderers forget. So let's take a moment of silence. Thank you so much. So I'm here to tell you all about what is going on in Montgomery County, Maryland. My name is Rabita Moses. I am a disabled political activist, and the reason I say disabled is because there's so much ableism and in organizing spaces, as well as when it comes to dealing with, your elected officials. We get treated, it's one thing to be disabled, but it's another thing to be disabled and minority. Um, so there's definitely a lot of, you know, the ill treatment, I would say. And some of my work started years ago. It wasn't like, for popularity or anything like that. I feel like I was just born for it almost. I know it sounds cliche, but the most recent thing what's been going on in Montgomery County, Maryland, is a lot of brutality. I started some work around the interfaith works. They have women's and men's shelter, but I was focused on the women's shelter work. And we were getting a lot of reports of, it's predominantly black women. So they were definitely targeting the black women. And, a friend of mine told me about what was going on, and they would come to this housing organization I was with. They would be filing grievances, the clients, and the grievances would get ignored or they would get tossed out. And it was even as bad as retaliation. The clients would get immediately trespassed because, of course, the grievances are against director and staff. They would get trespassed and arrested. They would use police intimidation, and I'm name dropping. So Supriya Pandit, Dominic Blakey, Elizabeth Kruger, and Jerry Henry. These are the, directors and employee. And Courtney Hall is the executive director. And as you saw in the police video, this sadistic officer doesn't matter. They don't have to look, white or Latino or Arab. They can look like you and I. And what happens a lot of times in these organizations is they get executive directors and people that look like you and I to convince you that they're on your side, but in reality they're really not. They're all about themselves. So we met with the directors. We asked them, could they stop the retaliation? It is winter time, dead winter, no heating. And I do believe like landlord tenant rules apply to like a certain degree because these women are staying 30 days or more. And what people don't understand is homelessness is a business. If you're not homeless, the shelters won't get paid. The longer they keep you institutionalized, because you got to realize a lot of women are fleeing domestic violence. They are fleeing anything that, I mean, abuse, trafficking, just so many different situations, right? And the shelter's like, okay, we you can come in, but instead of that 30 to 90-day turnaround time that they promise to get someone housing, by that time, women could be anywhere, because of that mental strain, the physical strain, someone's going through trauma. A lot of them are often trauma survivors. And it's easy to institutionalize them because you're giving them, I guess 2 to maybe 3 meals a day. They have a bed to sleep on. They're in medication, or they're on medication, or they're getting high. They're like, okay, I'm fine here. So the longer they kept, the women are kept in these shelters, and for men as well, the more the funding keeps coming in. Well, they could use that funding and actually set up mini houses and things of that nature, and try to, like, I want to say cure homelessness, but at least provide more support so they won't end up in the same place. So we found out, allegedly there was a lot of, abuse of funding going on. People donate hundreds and thousands of dollars worth of gift cards. The residents were not receiving them. So I became targeted because a lot of the women didn't want to meet with the directors without me present. So Supriya Pandit would always call the police on us. My friend, a sister, good sister of mine, Miss Diana Wesley, she would buy them brand new coats, you know, from our old pocket because they didn't have any. And with donations, so many coats and everything comes in. They get bags. You got staff taking bags allegedly to their cars. Food, they taking the good food home that's donated, and sometimes they leave the women with scraps or tell them there's not enough food. But in the eyes of, like, Montgomery County, Maryland, they have all these ties to these churches, and they get county funding, federal funding. So of course, I made noise about it with a few other people, and I was wrongfully accused by Supriya Pandit, and I went to help a young lady move. It was a day of moving out, and the director at the time, I believe she's now been fired or resigned. She filed a false restraining order, all riddled with lies, and because when she called the police that day, when the young lady, I was helping the young lady move. Surprisingly, the police report was in my favor because I didn't do anything illegal or unlawful. But because these people are connected, now this is when it comes to protecting institutions. Soon as I got to court, a lot of these judges and bailiffs know me because I've been putting in work inside and outside the courtroom, helping tenants, helping people with resources, and just a lot of time. And mind you, I wasn't getting paid for this. It was just like things that I was doing because of my lived experiences. And the judge, denied me a trial straight up. Wouldn't even let me get a word in. Laughed at me. Bailiffs cornered me. So this was like the domino effect. This started something that would, like, just keep escalating against me. So moving forward, I still kept organizing, kept doing other stuff. Simultaneously, I'm asking the court to give me another trial. And this judge's name is Judge John Moffitt in Montgomery County District Court. And they have the other judges that back them up. It's an institution. The courts. I'm going to tell you how the courts and the elected officials and everybody, how they're connected, because you know th- I kept asking. I was like, my due process was violated. Can I get a retrial? And now comes the administrative judge, Sherry D. Koch, and she, again, being denied my rights. It's institution protecting institution, because interfaith works. They get millions of dollars in funding, and I know they say, like, oh, be careful, don't say that they don't know each other. Oh yeah, they can call each other in a second. And this is how I know, because I worked on political campaigns, because I got into activism. I worked on Mark Elrich's campaign, who's our current county executive, 2018, and I was so good. Will Jawando wanted me for his campaign as well in 2018. So I worked for two campaigns simultaneously. But when I became an activist, it's like, they start labeling you problematic. They start labeling you crazy, because I saw how people lie. People, it's easy. They can look like you, and that's exactly you think, people think like, oh, KKK ain't around and this ain't real. Oh, they changed the game. They're like, we're gonna get your people that look like you to, destroy you. And pretty much, March 13th, I was wrongfully arrested. We were protesting the shelter. Of course, it wasn't at the location of the restraining order. It was in a public, downtown Silver Spring, 10 in the morning, 3:30 in the to 3:30 in the afternoon. I'm getting arrested because all three of the female directors made all these false statements to the police. And and mind, before that, I had no crim. Prior to that, I had no criminal history because they didn't like how we were organized. We were organizing, even the women from the shelter were stepping up and speaking out, but they were being threatened that if you go to these meetings for housing, allegedly, and if you, speak up, well, you're not gonna get your voucher. And they would tell us like we're afraid and we don't know what to do, and we're like, well, your safety is priority. And the county council, the entire county council, the county executive, Montgomery County, Maryland, the Office of the Human Rights, the director James Stowe, they all know me. We are in a lot of events together. I get a chance to talk to them. I send them emails, but they ignore these things because to them, I'm a nobody. It's like you're disabled, you're poor. Like we don't have to listen to you. There's no real accountability. And whilst organizing, mind you, I'm part of other organizations and I'm doing a lot of other stuff. And I did plan to run for office because I was like, I'm gonna run for office. And this is when the attacks got worse against me because they want someone to talk about one thing Montgomery County, Maryland is good at saying is we are so progressive. We are so progressive. But if you look at their own stats, they're progressive in police brutality, they're progressive in racism, they're progressive in homelessness. That in point in time, if you look up point in time, homelessness rate, the same thing I was fighting for, but when a bunch of you know, and I'm not trying to offend any race, but when a bunch of white people got involved, they did like a whole news media thing that 32%, there's a 32% increase of homelessness between 2024 and 2025 in Montgomery County, Maryland, and it predominantly affects and impacts black families. But when I was making noise about it, I was silenced. I was told to shut up. I was put on ankle monitor, excessive bond, $10,000. I was told I can't go to downtown Silver Spring, One Veterans Plaza. And they know, divide and conquer. They're like, okay, that's the weak link. So let's silence her so the other people can learn a lesson. And people around me generally started getting scared because they're like, oh, I can't go through that. I don't want to go through that. And that's when I started facing more and more retaliation from a lot of the organizations that I did work with. And I'm not gonna say like the everybody in the organization might not know what's going on, right? The members and stuff. This is behind the scene. I talked to Larry from Progressive Maryland because he had like a whole bunch of white people fighting for us, and I was like, you all have these people from like out of the state, coming in here and pretend like they understand our struggles. I was like, they building their career off of our backs. You got to have people that's already within the community that you can hire. So, they didn't like that. A lot of things I said people didn't like because, I was calling this, basically a spade a spade. Jews United for Justice, I done work alongside them, a lot of work. But when I try to get a job, I was told that they need somebody highly qualified, but they have hired someone that has absolutely no training, and I watched them train her the entire time. And so there's a lot of ableism, there's a lot of racism, there's a lot of cliquish. I've been contacting, and also I want to go back a little bit with the retaliation. Their movements I helped start from the ground up, and Housing Justice Montgomery, they get funded by Myers just like Interfaith Works gets funded by Myers. And the Courtney Hall, he actually sent in who's the CEO of Interfaith Works, sent emails to all different coalition partners and Myers, essentially labeling me and two other black women problematic. They never targeted any of the white people. They just were like, okay, we're gonna make these women look bad because it's easy for us. And it just kept getting worse. And another issue I have, I'm even with Silver Spring Justice Coalition, and they didn't help me at all. While I'm facing all these hurdles, I have a lot of chronic illnesses, and now my landlord comes in, which is Housing Unlimited Inc. They own, like, I believe 92 properties, and they're in partnership with the county and Interfaith Works, the shelter. Okay, so because they only house people with certain disabilities. So now I'm facing retaliation by my landlord. Them entering the house whenever they want, putting me through all kinds of abuse. So it just keeps getting worse and worse. And the more you reach out to elected officials, it's like, instead of them helping you, the situation, the escalation can go up. It keeps going up and up with you. But that's some of the stuff that I went through. And my one of my big issues is federal employees being part of movement spaces, because even the Bible says you cannot serve two masters. They work for the feds. They are accountable to the federal government. I'm gonna name drop Tiffany Kelly, Robert Stubblefield, Joanna Silver. These people, they look like you. They know how to talk like you. They know how to, oh, I'm this and that, and know how to play play along with everything. And, oh, we're fighting for this rights and that rights. But in reality, these people are so harmful. They harm me so much. And Tiffany Kelly and Alex Vasquez. Now this is where Casa comes in. I did a lot of work alongside them, and I'm a known trafficking survivor. This is no secret. I've testified about it publicly. I exposed their own text messages trying to coerce me into sex trafficking. And Tiffany Kelly, she ran for mayor of Gaithersburg, and she did not win. She would try to get me to go to the Maryland Live Casino with her to, you know, do stuff for money. And I was like, nah. They know how to target. They know, like, okay, she cool, oh, she's street smart. They know how to, like, match your energy. They know how to talk like you, walk like you, and they were, like, very manipulated. So when I exposed Tiffany Kelly and Alex Vasquez, these are the same people that will say anti-police this and we don't like the police. And even Robert Stubblefield, they're against the police. They filed 2 restraining orders and 7 criminal charges against me, filled with lies, back to back to back to back. Almost died during incarceration because, mind you, I'm already targeted. People know me. So when I get locked up, I'm denied all medication. I'm denied my medical equipment that I require daily to use. I'm denied that I'm held for days, bond denied, all that. And they were able to, because they've been in the spaces longer, they're able to manipulate, the strategy they talk about. And with DSA, another thing is, like, this is all happening around the same time with Democratic Socialists of America. I think I was the first person, minority, and that lives below the poverty threshold and disabled, that won as one of their national delegates representing the DMV 2025. So, people created lies. Robert Stubblefield, Olivia Delaplane, Nicole Zimmerman, Tiffany Kelly, Omoda Mola Williams, because they didn't want me to get this title, because I was like, the whole Montgomery County, Maryland steering committee is white. And Olivia would tell me, we're trying. I was like, trying what? We're in 2025. What are you guys trying to do that you can't do? So it's like, they want you to shut up. They don't want you to talk. They, like, tell your story, but we're going to control the narrative. So every time I try to speak up, I was labeled something horrible, but a lot of my work speak for itself. Like, I've been on the Carl Nelson show. I've been featured on the, in the Guardian with protecting but there's the African Cemetery Coalition fighting for them. I've called out elected officials to their face. Last year I ran on the stage. What is it called? But there's the Strathmore Center. I took the mic and I was like, because they were celebrating Martin Luther King birthday, and I was like, you guys are such hypocrites, elected officials. All Black History Month and all, Martin Luther King Day. You'll talk about all the activists and all, Black history. But I was like, when in real time, when activists are trying to do their job, you hurt them, you harm them, you try to get them locked up. And when people say like, "Oh no, you can't say that," and that might not be true. They can't be talking to judges. They are. They're all part of the same institution. And the prosecutor's office, Montgomery County Prosecutor's Office, John McCarthy, he escalated charges against me. I served him a color of law violation July, and after my initial arrest in March, he then added another charge to my case with the woman, the director from the shelter, and then with the Tiffany and Alex case, he added 7 more counts, like almost 2 months later. And I was like, and they're funded by the county. They're part of the county's budget. I'm like, you're wasting taxpayer dollars to go after me. I'm not that important. So it was a lot of things that happened in between. Like I was exposing, the anti-blackness in Montgomery County, Maryland, and unfortunately, not unfortunately, I hate to say this, but in reality, whether they're white or black, in Montgomery County, Maryland, your old people will throw you under the bus. They're very few, rare people because they know the fear. They're so scared, like, oh my gosh. But I'm like, if we stick together, they can't do anything. But I guess people don't understand that. They want to like, kiss butt and be like, oh my gosh, these are elected officials and yes, a massa. And I was like, I'm not doing that. And even right now, even ACLU in Maryland, I did so much work alongside them. I was like, I need you all to help me. I know they're probably busy, but I've talked to them so many times, but they know my abusers. And I'm like, I'm literally facing a life and death situation. I've even fought for, there's a neighborhood in Clarksburg, Maryland, predominantly black and brown people that own houses there and veterans. But what's happening there? And this is another thing when you talk about, generational wealth, because in that neighborhood in Clarksburg, Maryland, these houses, they're putting lien on the houses and forcing people to sell their house because of predatory lending and misrepresentation of front foot fees. Now, we know if it was a white neighborhood, none of that would be happening. None of it.
All right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It would not be happening because those elite white people and those, elite, whatever they are, Democrat, Republican, I don't know, they will, put their foot in their behind of the elected officials. But see, this is how black people lose generational wealth, black and brown people, because you have people in Montgomery County, white people that have lived there for 80, 90 years, great grandmothers, and they have this house they've been in for years that, by the way, black men were forced to build from River Road, with the Bethesda African Cemetery, the Moses Cemetery, and they had no rights to it. They had no rights to it at all. So so now with this Clarksburg neighborhood, it's hard to even get the story out. They don't want to. My a good friend of mine, she's been reaching out to all the elected officials. She went to court. The judge tells her this is it's a, what is it called, legislation issue, but it's not. It's consumer protection rights, literally there for things like this, predatory lending. But it's something that it's like if you say, damn if you do, damn if you don't. And people are having to sell their houses and move out. The developer is not being held accountable, and that's what happens. And also the 30 days, the misrepresentation of the front foot fees. When people were going to sign their contract, either they told them that exact moment, or months after that, they're gonna have to be paying for the next 30 years. And when they sell these companies, when they right now, I think it's when S&W Investments, if I'm not mistaken, I think. And what they do is they'll sell it or they'll do something different, like add an addition or do something in the neighborhood, and they're able to reset those 30-year fees. So not only are you paying now, your children and your grandchildren are having to pay, and they're like, you know what, I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to live in an apartment. But with the white folks, it's not like that. With the white and Jewish people, they get to keep their generational wealth
Uh-huh.
in Montgomery County, Maryland. So I'll open it up a little bit if you all want for is there any questions or comments, because I hate to feel like I'm the
Okay.
only one talking.
No problem. Yeah, but no, I definitely wanted to go in, and you definitely gave us a lot, and we just appreciate you off the top. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you all as well.
Thank you. And it's just sad that, like, even though what you're doing and going through in Montgomery County, it's everywhere. You might be
Everywhere.
in county, but it's in the city. It's everywhere. It's sad, and it's disgusting. So I see that we have questions and comments on the board. So I don't know if Khalid is here tonight to be able to read the questions or comments, but if she is, can she start reading the questions or comments? Like that.
Mic check.
Mic check. Yep, I'm here, Tawanda. Can everyone hear me?
Hey, yeah, how you doing?
Yeah.
Thanks for being
Yes.
here. Oh, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll start off with mic check from Angela, mic check from Adina. Adina responded and said, so much extortion going on with our government systems. Adina also said, you're technically a whistleblower and should have protections. Have you gone to the state attorney general? Even though they'll probably be just as tainted, maybe it's worth a shot. Linda commented, mic check. I commented, liberal media will likely point more focus on workers' issues when white people are the face of it. And I will say this is something that we've noticed a lot with the YouTube aspect of our live streams. Oftentimes, because of certain phrases, a lot of comments will be censored, so they won't show up fully
Okay.
on the live stream. But I did say something, just saying it's important to point out the racism. And I think it echoes, fully in your story and what you've been saying, the advocacy that you've been doing, the work that you're doing, and yet the lack of support and necessary results because of the corruption and institutionalized racism that exists within the US government.
Absolutely. And I would like to answer the question about the attorney general. So I filed a federal lawsuit, which is USC 42, 1983, 1985. And I sued the entire Montgomery County government, all the law enforcement, Department of Corrections, pretrial services, Montgomery County Council, county executive. I've named judges. I've named the prosecutors. So the Attorney General of Maryland, Brian, I was about to say Brian Frosh, Anthony Brown, he's the one representing the same people violating my civil rights. He's representing the prosecutors and the judges, which I'm like, don't you owe a duty to the public to make sure their civil rights are not violated? And I have no attorney. It's about, I think, 31 defendants altogether, and navigating criminal charges and navigating this federal lawsuit. It's so difficult to get help, especially if I went, if I was like and this is no attack to any LGBTQ, but if I was like a white LGBTQI man or woman, they would be like, oh my gosh, like we'll take this case immediately. And again, it's no attack to them, because I actually am, I love working with the LGBTQ community, but the way the LGBTQ community in Montgomery County is treated is not good either. They're suffering in shelters, and it's really, really bad. And one thing is, I've experienced a lot of bullying, and I've started a lot of movements, and I get pushed out of my own movements that I literally start. I'm even the first tenant leader for the Rockville rent stabilization with council member Isola Shaw from Rockville. And just because they sweet talk and this and that, people need to understand the manipulation tactics behind the scene. The devil, and I'm the all I'm saying is the devil is a charmer, okay? So stop letting your elected officials charm you into thinking like they want what's in your best interest, because most of the times they're doing it because of their own agenda. And I'm not saying all of elected officials suck, but most of them, I mean, from my own experience working with them, being years and years, being in the same room with them, and working on legislation and doing other things, unless it's like Senator Van Hollen, he's right down the street from Moses Cemetery. You think he's gonna come and stop a historical black cemetery from being destroyed? Nah, he finna fly to El Salvador to do some other work. Not saying that was a bad thing, that was needed. But all these years, almost 10 years, they're not stopping the desecration of, an African American cemetery. And, they're in these movements, they have to be held accountable, because what we do is they know who to target. These organizations would not exist if we don't exist. If we, poverty, racism, if we don't exist, where are they going to get their funding for? What are they going to get their funding for? So they're not gonna, they're not gonna solve all our problems or help us out, because they're like, if we do that, we have nothing to ask for funding for. They need us, but they get thousands and thousands and all this money. They might help like few people and be like, look at all the work we've done. But I'm telling you, do not stop volunteering for them for a meal. I did it before too. I've done it before too. I'm like, oh shoot, last year all in Annapolis, like, oh, we're gonna have Panera and this and that. Yeah, I'm not saying all the causes are bad, but really look at who's funding these people, and look at the connections that they have, because in reality, it still goes back to the same people, the connection. It's always like the institutions. And also with DSA, a lot of my titles, I got stripped from my titles because of all the lies. And DSA, they have upper middle class, predominantly white people and brown people, and again, a lot of these organizations are like big time bullies. They'll isolate you. Like I had multiple people get in my face one day when I was like, trying to say like, you guys did not fight with me. You guys, let me be harmed, and they label me crazy. They said they hate the police. They call the police on me when I'm not even a danger, and just a lot of these things we have to really look into. Who are you giving your money to and donating to? There are a lot of things we can also build on our own. But I think people are so afraid. But this is the time. You cannot be afraid. Like, organizations use us and our testimonies. Oh yeah, we care so much about you. That testimony is being used. I mean, I agree that there's some good to get legislation passed, but a lot of times, their funding relies on our stories, but they're never going to give us a seat at the table. So we need to really, keep our eyes and mind open. And, I'm open to anyone, willing to reach, if I guess y'all can reach out to Sister Tawanda if that's okay with you, or anyone, because I do need representation, legal. My life is not safe. I am in danger. I am heavily, heavily targeted, and I appreciate any and all help. And I continue to also, Sister Tawanda, to give you so much props, and may God give you so much blessings, because that this is a long, long fight. Long fight.
Years.
Yes. And I commend you for all the work you have done as well.
And I just thank you, my queen. And we have some more
Thank
additional
you.
questions and comments before. And I wanted to ask anybody on here, do they want to ask or share or ask our sister Moses anything right now? But just a big shout out to you. We definitely appreciate you. Do anybody,
Appreciate you all.
and Q want to appreciate you as well. Anybody want to ask our sister a question or make a comment? Mic check. All right, so Claire, do we have any additional questions or comments in the chat?
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
I can hear you now. Okay, yeah, I hear you now. Yeah.
The last two comments are from Adina again. You are again 100% correct. Our experience is that Frosh was more fair and better to deal with. Brown is part of the status quo. Its ear story mirrors Shorty's. Mic check.
Oh, I love Shorty. Yeah, we have a lot of similarities with our stories. Yeah, God definitely connected us. So thank you so much. And one more thing I want to say before I forget, and my bad. I want to say one thing that people need to understand, that when you are marginalized, historically oppressed, only you can tell your story. You can fight for your struggle. You don't need, these different, like, federal workers and, elite people or white people coming into the spaces and making you feel validated, because you don't need that. And then also another thing they're good at doing is, what was done to me was, if because I was so outspoken, the white people, like DSA, Progressive Maryland, whoever was around at the time, they knew how to manipulate the other black and brown people into disliking me, and they know that you're gonna butt heads while they, in the background, like, just like demonically, disappear into the into behind the scene. So be very, very visual about that as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wow. Yeah, thank you. Thank you again, my queen, so much.
Thank you
I
for me as
definitely
well.
appreciate you.
I hope
for
I didn't say
sharing.
too much.
Oh no, absolutely. No, you're good. You can never say too much. This is, this is what we're here for, real stuff like this. This is something that literally none of us asked to be in a club of corruption. No one. And I'm sorry that you're being targeted, but whenever you speak truth to power, that's when the threats come and all that. So just keep on telling your truth and just keep on telling the truth and putting it out there, and just we got to keep on exposing them, because to me, when we keep silent about the things they do, we're condoning violence. So definitely we love and appreciate you, and keep on doing this. Not going to be your only time coming on our platform. We definitely want more updates and everything else. And if you want to tune in, because unfortunately every week when we're on this platform, whether we're in person or online, we always, and it's so sad that we always have a sad list that we share and read. But if you want to stay tuned, you can. But obviously, if you have something else that you need to do, you can leave. But if you want to stay tuned, we're going to unfortunately have to go to the sad list where we read the community violence as well as the police brutality list. And to me, it's all hand in hand. It's another
all connected.
Way that they try to, definitely connected, that part. So, so I want to check in again. Khalid, do we have any additional questions, comments before I go into our statement? And then we'll take it from there and start to read the sad list. And it's really sad and disgusting, because we almost had, I think we have, like, for the police brutality list, we have like 19 names literally in 1 week. Like, it's beyond out of control. So, mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. No more comments.
Twanda? Yes, Twanda? Twanda, if I could just have a second to make a statement.
Sure, please.
So this is the one the one West Wednesday year that I sort of come out as a Christian, because today is also Ash Wednesday, and it's the beginning of Lent, and for me, this is a time. I mean, for the whole church, it's a time to reflect on our mortality and our sins, but it's also a time to reflect, I think, on the sins of our society, and to remember that at the very center of our faith is a dark-skinned homeless man who was killed by the state under cover of law. And this is a man who called on us, who said that who you really are is not determined by how loudly you profess your adherence or your faith, but rather how you treat the people who have the least to give you, the people who you fear, the people who disgust you. Can you treat those people as you would want to be treated on your hardest day? And so for the next 40 days, we can reflect on that. And then at the end of that time, we come to Easter, which is the part of the focus of the church's year. And it's a time when we remember that no matter how crappy we've been ourselves, we can always do better. And no matter how badly the world has treated us, there's always someone on our side. And so I just, want to say that this time of year, I think we can all bring a focus on our treatment of the world and the world's treatment of us, and try and make it a better place. And so I just ask you all to spend these next 40 days doing that with me. Thank you.
And not only just you, and again, that's what I love about the West Coalition, because we come from different belief, because everybody on here is not Christians, everybody on here is not communists. I know that I'm a Christian, so we wear many hats. And that's what I love. But we do agree that this system has to go. Like, it's dirty to the core, and we believe in peace and we believe in love. Yeah, so definitely with you on that. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to toss it to Leah to see if there's any more additional questions or comments. And then, unfortunately, I'm going to read our statement, as I said, and then we're going to go into these two sad lists. And then I want to say something too, with me just literally just watching social media, and then between the television and the news, it's a lot, and then being a full-time everyday teacher, it's a lot that we go through right now. And the world is just like doing what it do. It's not even the world, it's the people. And literally I've been, just being thankful that, that God protects us from danger seen and unseen. And, and this is me taking off the West Coalition. This is just Tawanda speaking, from my heart. And, I had a thing where I was invited, to hang out with my girlfriends and, this sisterly type of thing, to go out. And at first I was literally going to go out this Monday. I'm like, okay, meeting the Monday, I feel like I need to mingle, and just have fun, because I just believe in just having life, living it till its fullest. But I had to work, and I'm like, I gotta work on a holiday, but I literally had to work. And with that being said, when I had to go to work, everything, but it was just something in something in my spirit wasn't right. But I had told my friends, I'm like, okay, I'm definitely gonna go hang out with y'all. So I don't know. I said, I'll keep y'all posted, but I do have to work or whatever. But long story short, I literally got home and I was in my mind like, yeah, I'm going out. Let me put my kids on something real quick to eat for dinner. And, I'm going out, and I'm still going to be up on time for work tomorrow morning, which would have been Tuesday. But nevertheless, I didn't go because so much of stuff was happening. and it was every sign saying don't go. Like literally, I'm like, and it made me so mad. Like I literally jumped in the shower. I think I didn't even eat the dinner that I made for my kids. I was so upset because so much was going on, and I literally just passed out. And then to wake up and to hear that the spot that I was supposed to go to had a shooting in the inside, not on the outside. Bad enough on the outside, it's horrible. But to think about a place that's normally typically safe and, you know, thorough with security, I was like blown back. And I'm just praying for everybody involved. And then I was praying and hoping and praying that, you know, it wasn't someone I knew, but at the end of the day, it was a human, so it didn't even matter. It was like one of my close friends, even though I was like, oh my goodness, I hope it wasn't one of the friends that invited me, but you know, it's just sad. And then after that, I saw something where it was dealing with high school students, and they was supposed to literally, you saw a poor teenager literally get hit by this like SUV. It was horrible. And as horrible as it was, they were showing like a live video where the young child or person, it could have been, I don't know, I'm assuming it was for somebody, I know teenagers were recording. It could have been a grown man. I don't know, but it was a person and they got hit by a vehicle, but yet at that time it was a fight going on and it was just so much at one time, and it just showed me like how the world can just shift you and you can go from one thing. Here it is, they started literally videoing someone that was like in critical condition, like hit underneath of the car. You can see the person's legs, and I'm praying that that person may make it out. And then to see two girls fighting, and it's just horrible. And then you go turn on something else and you see somebody at I'm in a nail shop on Valentine's Day, getting their nails done and then get jumped. It's way too much. And my whole point of saying all that, the world is filled with enough of hate. Make it your business, guys, to just show love. It is so easy to show somebody love, even if you don't get that love back. But show love. Treat people the way you want to be treated. I go in my classroom every day, and I tell my boys and girls, hey, guys, what's the golden rule? And they're like, treat people the way you want to be treated. And that's just so sad. And then, oh, my God, I see, oh, my God, I'm reading the comments now because I'm able to see it. And it's so sad. My sister Dina just said that it was an 11-year-old that was hit by SUV. Oh, my God, that was so horrific. But literally, you got teenagers taping a baby getting hit by SUV. It was terrible. And then they took the camera from off of the child. It was over, I think it was on Hilton Avenue, but they took the camera from off of that baby and put it on two girls fighting. It's just like too much going on, and it's so heartbreaking and devastating. So I'm praying that that baby be okay. It's just a lot. But again, my whole point of sharing those tragedies when they exploit anyone or the point fingers, I'm just telling everybody, be careful, enjoy your life. That's why I said even before the tragedy happened with my brother, I always said, live to love, love to live. Like that is something that, like if you feel it in your soul, live to love and love to live. You know, because some people now are just living, and a lot of people now are miserable as they are living and not really enjoying the gift of living until you start enjoying it. If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to use it. You're going to abuse it, and you're going to, start a lot of chaos, confusion, and it's not necessary. It's a lot of chaos and confusion going on. It's just too much. But this is the time for us to literally love on each other. And that's all I want to say. It's just so sad. So I'll hand it to you, Kalia. And I just want to share. There's just way too much going on. Like one brain I can't even keep up with it. It's too much. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. I just wanted to check with Brian if we have a list of community violence.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Do we have a list of community violence?
Yes, we do.
Unfortunately, oh, so sad. All righty, well, I'll just get to our mission statement. But before I get to that, I see where Dina put up that it was on Hilton, I guess by Green Street Academy. Yeah, and that's so sad. That's by like the school. That is horrible. That is, oh my goodness. So sending prayers. And then from the video, it sounded like they were saying somebody was in a stolen car, but it's just too much. And then one last thing, I'm not trying to traumatize nobody, but then I wake up this morning and I'm hearing that I believe it was somewhere here in Maryland, but it was talking about a police involved murder or unaliving, because I don't want us to get flagged, but it was an unaliving, but it was literally, I believe it might have been in Colombia, but it was literally teenage, it was a female, may she rest in peace, poor baby, but the cops were actually chasing this baby, a 16-year-old, in her car, like pretty much crashed, and they show a small part of the body camera footage of not the chase. Of course, they didn't show that part, but they actually showed the car all messed up, and that is heartbreaking. And I just want people to be mindful of when you guys are making that video. If you're just making that video to show and inflict people pain and not to help the situation, shame on you, because at the end of the day, that could be your loved one. That could be your sister, your cousin, and don't nobody want to see their loved one. I remember when my cousin was unalive, and I didn't even see that, but for me to see, they kept showing it on the social media, not even on the news, because the news want to cover what they want to cover, because they weren't going to cover that part and show or talk about my cousin. Why? Because a serial killer, a white serial killer, was in Maryland killing black people. Killing people, not even just black people. Just we had a serial killer in here just doing horrendous things, and still to this day they're hiding this serial killer, and it's disgusting. But my whole point is, I kept saying on social media, like on Murder Inc., they kept showing my cousin car over and over again, and every time we saw that car, it ripped a part of my heart out. It's easy for you to video that stuff, but when it's your loved one, or if you had to see your family in that type of way, it's not cute, it's not funny, and it's just, I'm gonna end on that. I'm just going too much, but I just had to share that. So be mindful in all your actions. And it's just sad that people will pick up a phone and start recording, but you don't see nobody running over, giving people first aid treatment. You don't see nobody breaking up a fight. You don't see them putting the camera on it, ooh, ow, and instigating, instead of breaking it apart and saying, hey, y'all stop, y'all, and pulling them apart. We're in some real times. And again, I'm going to echo, live to love, love to live. And I'm going to leave it right there. So it is the mission of the West Coalition not to just fight for accountability for my big brother Tyrone West, but literally for all the victims of police brutality, murder, and just victims, period, all that. The people that are advocating peacefully, like our beautiful sister Moses. I'm praying for this queen. She is like, getting threats, all type of stuff. And, I'm praying for everybody, guys. This is a praying time right now. And I'm stepping away this part from the West Coalition. But we coming from a place of love and care. But when we get these lists of names, and we get from the community violence as well as the police brutality list, we don't have any details surrounding the cases. All we know that someone is no longer here. Whether it's on the community violence or it's on the police brutality list. And we know, or I know, that in everything you have good and you have evil. And just because you have evil mixed in with the good doesn't make everybody evil. You know what I'm saying? Because if I judge people like that, then I judge, because it's unfortunately that, because of my skin color, I'm evil, whatever the case may be. And that's disgusting, the way people treat people instead of getting to know a person, looking past the skin color, looking past their job description, looking past that, but just spreading love. We believe in mediation, guys. This is me talking from the West Coalition. We believe that if few people or a bunch of people are at odds about anything, you can actually sit down to a table, be peaceful, talk about it, because guess what? At the end of the day, all parties walk away. Whether you agree to disagree, you all walk away safely. Even if you might be still upset and whatever the case may be. But the fact that you took time to hear each other out in a peaceful, respectful way. The world has stepped away from respect, integrity, humanity. We have stepped away from it. It has taken a backseat when it shouldn't. So again, we have no details or anything surrounding nobody involved in these cases or anything. So I just wanted to let you guys know that we don't have any details, and we're sorry that if we triggered you by reading these lists of names. That's not what we're here for. We're just here to try to advocate. So the time now is 8:18. We're going to come back at 8:20 to start reading both the sad list as well. Well, both sad lists, the community violence sad list and the police brutality sad list. And we know too that all victims do not pass away. Some of them survive. They're survivors. So we're here for the survivors as well. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Thank you guys so much. The time now is 8:20. I'm going to hand it over to you, Brother Brian. Mic check.
Mic check. Thank you, Twanda. I'm my part of what I do here is to read the list of people who have died of community violence here in Baltimore. And we always like to remind that each of these people is the center of a community. They have parents, they have children, they have friends, they have coworkers. They just have neighbors and just people who see them on the street. And all of those people are affected when these lives are stolen. And so we lift them up. We lift these names up in memory of the people who have died, in solidarity with the communities that they are part of. And it's a way of dedicating ourselves to ending violence in our communities. And so I would just ask you to echo these names back. Joseph Osborne.
Joseph Osborne.
Osborne.
Tierra Alexander.
Tierra Alexander.
Khalid Al-Shikari.
Khalid Al-Shikari.
Tyona Pierce.
Tyona
Pierce.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Brown. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
For the names of those who've been taken by the police throughout the country, this list goes back to the 8th up to the 13th, and we have a total of 19 names for this period. The youngest person on this list that we know of is 17, and the oldest is 62. I'll start off reading the first half of the list, and then Hillary will continue with the second half. On February 8th, in Dallas, Texas, a 22-year-old male, James Thomas.
James Thomas.
Again, on the 8th, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a 33-year-old male, Michael Glunt.
Michael
Blunt.
Michael Blunt.
Again, on the 8th, in Wellston, Oklahoma as well, 74-year-old male, Stephen Pence.
Stephen
Pence.
Stephen Pence.
In Las Cruces, New Mexico, 28-year-old male, Johnny Morales.
Johnny Morales.
On the 8th, in Fall River, Massachusetts, 40-year-old male, Nigel Vaughn.
Nigel
Vaughn.
On the 8th, in Elkhart, Indiana, 17-year-old male, Brian Gomez.
Brian Gomez.
On the 9th, in San Leandro, California, 40-year-old male, Anthony Anderson.
Anthony Anderson.
Anthony Anderson.
On the 10th, in Broadway, Virginia, 61-year-old male, Mike Smith.
Mike Smith.
In Duluth, Minnesota, on the 10th, a male whose age is unknown, but whose name was Donald Felver III.
Donald Felver III.
Donald Felver III.
Now pass the second half of the list to Hillary.
Okay. Thank you, Kalia. And again, we're remembering all of these people and their communities. On the 10th, in Jacksonville, Florida, 52-year-old male, Michael Jones.
Michael
Jones.
Also on the 10th, in Goodyear, Arizona, 32-year-old male, Dominic Diaz.
Dominic Diaz.
Again on the 10th, in Queen Creek, Arizona, 23-year-old male, Gavin Johnson.
Gavin Johnson.
Gavin Johnson.
On the 11th, in Johns Island, South Carolina, 34-year-old male, Fioriberto Perez Nito.
Fioriberto Perez Nito.
On the 11th, in Waldorf, Maryland, 36-year-old male, DeMarcus Irish.
DeMarcus Irish.
Also on the 11th, in Washington, D.C., 43-year-old male, Julian Bailey.
Julian Bailey.
Also, thank you. Also on the 11th, in Montgomery, Alabama, 25-year-old male, Jadarian Siemens.
Jadarian.
I'm sorry, I mispronounced that last name. It's actually Jadarian Clemens.
Jadarian
Clemens.
On the 13th, in Collins, Mississippi, 39-year-old female, Rosia Williams.
Rosia Williams.
Rosia Williams.
On the 13th, in Winston, Georgia, 52-year-old male, Jorge Narvaez.
Jorge
Navarez.
And the last one on the 13th in Jacksonville, Florida, 62-year-old male, Jose Cabrera.
Jose Cabrera.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hillary. So again, I want to thank everybody that tuned in and stayed tuned. But first, I want to give a special big thanks to our sister Moses for taking the time, coming here on our platform to share with us. And let's support her in every which way. Let's keep sharing this live stream, and she will be back on here again. I want to thank our sister Queen Rachel for hosting. And I want to thank Hillary, Brother Brian, and I just want to thank everybody that commented or, just shared. And then I want to also tell you guys, please, please, please get your t-shirts. I'm going to be sharing I shared the link, the flyer on my, the West Wednesday page, not on the West Wednesday page, I'm sorry, on my post when I made the post on Facebook about West Wednesday tonight. But please share. Buy a t-shirt, guys. Please share. Remember, live to love to live. I love you all. And unfortunately, the way we had to bring you in with that awful video, I'm sad to say we have to bring you in to finish the rest of the video. We have to end it with the rest of the video. So again, thank you guys for your time. We know that you could have been anywhere else doing, it's late in the evening and things like that. So again, thank you for your time. We truly appreciate each and every last one of you. Thank you. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
And Mr. West begging for his life, and Mr. Salam begging for his child to be excluded and comforted from what was taking place. Not for himself, but for his 3-year-old child.
Case number 4, Adina Britt and family, September 10th, 2015.
My name is Adina Britt, and I wanted to submit a 30-second testimonial that Jorge Omar Bernardez Ruiz is one of the 11 terrorists that came into my house performing a home invasion in September 2015, terrorizing my entire family and even holding my 12-year-old son at gunpoint. He needs to be stopped.
Case number 5, unidentified arrestee, assaulted in 2016.
I suggest you back the fuck up.
Again, this video did not surface until the summer of 2020. Case 6, Thomas McCullough, May 2016 and February 2017.
I heard my front door coming off the hinges like it exploded.
Thomas McCullough says it happened twice. In May 2016 and February 2017, Baltimore City Police burst through his green front door and raided his Pimlico home.
They said, police. They come up, shotguns, guns.
He says officers ransacked the place, looking for drugs, money, and weapons. He took pictures of the damage he says they left behind.
Tell us where the drugs are, the scales, the guns, and the large amounts of money.
Nothing was found. Now he's suing police, claiming officers, including a former member of the Gun Trace Task Force, frightened him, his wife, and father-in-law when the officers conducted what his suit calls an illegal search of his home. The owner of the house tells 11 News after the second raid, he had to replace the front door. McCullough and his attorney say they want Baltimore police held accountable.
There is a colossal breach of trust.
And McCullough tells us following both raids, no one was arrested or charged.
This all begs the question, when will Baltimore City State's attorney see the prosecution of Bernardez Ruiz as warranted?
They were the stopping officers in these so-called jump-out cars, unmarked and so forth, that stopped both the West vehicle and the Salam vehicle without probable cause. And these officers are the ones that also were joined by others, but they are the ones who initiated the stops, pulled both men out of the vehicles, and commenced the vicious activity that was thrust upon me.
And the Officer Ruiz that started this attack is still working and working with promotions. He is now sergeant. But the fact that this repeat violent offender had a history leading up to my brother. There was Darrell Harris, there was James Green, Joseph Green, Abdul Salam. No one family deserves to be brutally murdered or brutalized by this repeat violent offender Ruiz. It is time we take action. The time is now.
Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardes Ruiz is a repeat violent offender. Based on these accounts, in accordance with the law, we, the West Coalition, call for him to be fired, prosecuted, and incarcerated.
We're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on t-shirts. Our lives matter.
For the safety of our city, the prevention of further harm, and the justice for these families, we see no other option.
And again, I'll say, the time is now.